Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So in this one we're going to be breaking from my norm and approaching a project that is a little bit on the simpler side. Now when I say simple, obviously I don't mean it's going to be just a couple pieces of wood slapped together. We're still going to be using some nice joinery and all that. What I mean by simple is that one of the projects that I've kind of had on my mind for a while now is just building a simple table. But for the longest time, pretty much since I got into woodworking, I've hated the idea of building tables. Now what I mean by that, and I have built some tables in the past, what I mean specifically by this is a table where you basically just have a flat top and then a frame on the bottom. There's no cabinets, drawers, doors, anything like that. So my idea with this project was to try that simple route, and we're going to be building this all out of natural walnut, which is going to make it just a little bit more beautiful than it would have been with any other wood. But the idea here is just to kind of expand my boundaries. Now, what I can say after having completed this project is that I don't think I'm in love with building tables. I still much prefer the functionality of a good cabinet, something like that, as well as the skills and the techniques required to build doors and more complicated drawers and all that. I do prefer that. But I did find that taking the time to just kind of focus my skills on this overall simple project was actually quite enjoyable. Because the other part of that is I'm also just starting up a new job right now. So I didn't have nearly as much time as I normally would to put towards a project, but this is both a good and a bad thing. I don't have as much time to put towards projects, but now I also don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay for these projects, which is kind of a massive thing for me to kind of comprehend at this point in time. And I don't want to talk too much about my new job because there's some stuff I can't talk about with it, but overall what this means now is that rather than struggling to have money each month for a project, now thanks to you guys watching these videos and YouTube and all the AdSense and that, I now have a guaranteed budget each month to put towards some really cool projects. So this is going to be an astronomical change for the channel, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with this. I've already got some great plans for some upcoming projects using some new interesting materials in that, and all around this is just going to be a huge change for the channel, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. But anyway, back to this project. Again, we're keeping everything as simple as possible here. So for the structure, I wanted some nice, easy mortise and tenon joinery, so nice, simple tenons. And then the only bit of complex joinery on the structure here is the top front stretcher. For that, we're going to be using, I believe it's a half-blind dovetail. I've seen this joint called a lot of different things, but basically we're going to have that top post leg and then this cross piece that has a dovetail on it. And what I love about this joint is that it's just so functional. It's fairly easy to cut too, and you really can't screw it up because 90% of the joint is hidden, but it also works in a super functional manner to make sure that the legs can't pull apart. So it's one of those just simple, beautiful joints, and it's one of the ones that I love to use anytime I have to put a horizontal stretcher on top of post legs. This is my go-to joint for sure. Now, speaking of dovetails, I also haven't cut dovetails in probably a few months now, so I'm a little bit rusty, and it was fun to kind of get some practice on this point right here. It is just a matter of going slow with it. Now, if you've never tried cutting a half-blind dovetail before, don't stress about it too much because it's one of those things that once you kind of learn it and once you kind of start to figure things out, it kind of becomes like second nature. It's not quite like riding a bike, you can't pick it up as easily if you've stopped for a little while. It does take some practice to get back into it. But overall, it's really not that hard of a joint to cut. It really is just all about the time and patience. And I mean, that's the big difference here. When we talk about joinery, you really have to either be someone that enjoys doing joinery, or you can go with other simpler methods like a domino. That is the real benefit of something like a domino joiner, is you can just kind of get things done nice and easy. Whereas when you take the time to do joinery like this, it does have that mechanical advantage, but the main thing here is that it was just kind of fun to do. Then to break from my typical style a little bit more, we're going to be adding in some very dramatic tapers to these legs, because we're not going to be having like a bottom shelf, anything like that. So I decided to start this on the bandsaw just because I'm removing a decent amount of material. I like to do that on the bandsaw, it makes it a little bit easier. Then I can use my table saw to trim it to that final, just kind of perfect size. So I like this method just because it feels a little bit more controlled to me. Again, if you have a more powerful table saw, you probably don't have as much issue. With my little 1.5 horsepower, I do have to kind of be careful about how much material I'm putting through at a time. But then of course I can go through and clean everything up with my hand plane. Now, like I said before, this is a break from my typical style because I'm so used to doing cabinetry and that kind of stuff that doing these large tapers is not really an option. So I wanted to try it on this table, and I do think that it looks really cool. Basically, I took the 1 3/8 square post legs and then tapered it down to about 3/4 inches square at the bottom. And now this is a very dramatic taper, and I think that it looks really cool. It helps lighten up the overall piece and make sure that it doesn't look blocky, because that's one of the things that I've seen with a lot of tables, and this is something that's kind of iconic of the DIY community, is they tend to leave very square, chunky legs. And I think that when we're talking about fine furniture, we want to really consider the overall appearance of it. And I do think that this is a big part of that, is just making these legs seem a little bit lighter. It helps lift the piece up, makes it look a little bit nicer than if you just have those blocky legs. Now, if you like that chunkier style, more power to you. But yeah, it all just comes down to personal preference. The other thing that I really tried to do on this project was just to kind of work as much as I wanted to with hand tools. Because that's been something that I've been trying to embrace more lately, is I want to try and do more stuff that I enjoy doing with hand tools. So this is stuff like finishing work, adding in chamfers, roundovers, that kind of stuff. I really like doing that kind of stuff with hand tools. Where I really don't like working with hand tools is your rough milling. And I'm going to throw in a random book suggestion here, but I highly recommend you guys check out The Why and How of Woodworking by Mike Pejkovic. I started reading it recently, and I'm only through the first chapter, but it's given me some really good key points to think about in my own woodworking, just how I approach things, how I think about the whole process. So a little bit of a book recommendation there. You guys can find it on Amazon, or a lot of local bookstores I've found have it too. But yeah, it's been a really good read so far. Now, one area where I did kind of screw up on this project is with the glue up here. I went back and forth throughout the whole design portion of this project as to whether or not I wanted to use some pinned mortise and tenons like I've been using on a lot of projects lately. And I decided I didn't want to do it because I thought that the pins might make the project look a little bit too busy. And in hindsight, I really regret that decision, because I think that it would have, for one, made the glue up a lot easier, but would have also added in just a little bit of detail here and there. So in the future, I'll probably be going back to just kind of sticking to my normal pinned mortise and tenon joinery, because for one, it's way more functional, I think, but two, it also looks really cool. But of course, because I can't do something without some kind of drawer or door or anything like that, I had to install a drawer on this table just for a little bit of extra functionality. And I decided to go with some ball bearing drawer sides, just again because I haven't used them in a little while here, and I was actually able to afford to use them on this project because of that new job, which is pretty nice. But one thing that I did find kind of interesting about this is that after finishing this project, I have to say that I'm a little bit more interested in going back to using traditional wooden drawer slides. Because one of the things that I found with the ball bearing drawer slides is that they can be just a little bit annoying to deal with. The sizes in that all seem to vary, again, depending on which model you buy and all that kind of stuff. And it overall just makes the project just a little bit more annoying, and they're not actually that great. I have found that doing just traditional wooden drawer slides, they do work pretty well. But anyway, that's something that I gotta kind of experiment more as I get better at furniture making and just kind of learn the process more. But then for this drawer box, I decided to go back to my hand-cut dovetails and just try and get some more experience under my belt. Because again, it's been a few months since I've done this, and it's something that is kind of fun to do every once in a while. And I have to say, I'm at this really weird point when it comes to specifically drawer boxes. I have a very hard time trying to decide what joinery I want to use. Because through my own style, I've really kind of fallen in love with box joints. I love how simple they are to cut. You know, I just throw them in the lead jig, I cut the pieces, and there's really no hassle involved. But I also really like the visual nature of dovetails, and whether they're machine cut or hand cut, I don't think it really matters. In this case, I am actually taking advantage of the fact that I'm hand cutting them to make some nice small pins, but overall, I'm really kind of torn on what my favorite type of joinery is. Again, it's all about kind of what I'm feeling on a project, which is why I typically will leave what type of joinery I want to use until I get to that point. You know, I might design something specifically for box joints, for the sizing of box joints, but then I might, you know, in the last minute decide to go with dovetails just for the looks. The other funny thing about this is I have not cut dovetails in white oak in a long time, and oh boy was this a real challenge to get through, because yeah, I just was not used to it, and I definitely had to take more time, stop and sharpen my chisels multiple times through this whole process. White oak is a real beast of a wood to work with, and I'm looking forward to getting back to kind of getting more experience with it again, because again, that's another wood that I haven't worked with in a long time because it's a decently expensive wood, and it is still one of my favorite woods by far. I love just the natural color of it, the texture, all that kind of stuff, and that's why I wanted to incorporate it into this project, because I love the look of it. So while I finish off this drawer box, I want to talk a little bit more about the future of the channel, because like I said earlier in the video, there's some big changes in that coming. And so my plan going forward here is I really just want to focus on doing furniture that I enjoy doing. Now what I mean by that is a lot of the furniture I've been trying to build and focus on in the past is stuff that would be a commercially viable product, something that I could throw up on my website and somebody might want to buy from me. And from what I've found, it is, for someone my age at least, it is nearly impossible to convince people to give you multiple thousands of dollars for furniture. I have found a few customers here and there, but overall it is very challenging to do. So what I want to focus on going forward is the technical skills of woodworking, and my overarching goal for just, my life, my career, all that kind of stuff is someday I want to be able to open a school or just be able to teach woodworking. That is my ultimate goal. And the first step of that is I have to get really, really good at this, at the craft. And that's my goal with all these projects going forward here. That is, as I build this career as a woodworker, I just want to focus on getting those skills and just improving myself as much as I absolutely can. And so this means that we're going to be doing projects that are slightly more complicated. I'm going to be introducing a whole bunch of different skills. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, one of the skills I've been focusing on a lot lately is stained glass, and I'm really excited to try and introduce that into a project very soon here. So it's just all this kind of stuff. I want to get as good as I possibly can get at woodworking so that someday I can help pass those skills on to either the next generation or just to anyone who wants to learn what I know. And that's kind of what I've been doing with this channel. This is kind of the early stages of it, and I've really just enjoyed the process of sharing these lessons that I learn on these projects with everyone who watches my videos. And that's the other part that I want to say thank you to you guys for, is it's been really interesting. I'm chatting with a lot of you guys. Some of you I've chatted with in person, some of you I've chatted with online or through DMs, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool talking to you guys and figuring out just kind of the different levels of skill. I've talked to some of you guys who have years of experience, longer than I've been alive, and you've been able to offer me some great tips, but you've also told me that I've shown you some different ways of thinking about things. But I've also talked to a lot of people who have found my channel for the first time or just getting into woodworking, and I've been able to offer some advice in that just based on my own experience. All around, it's been super cool, and the feeling of community that I've gotten by just talking and chatting with you guys has been so cool as this channel has built up over the past few years. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you guys. It's been a really good time just kind of interacting with you guys, both in the comment sections, DMs, online video chats, in person, the few of you that I've met. All around, it's just been super cool. And yeah, if you guys ever want to reach out to me, you can always hit me up on my email, go through DMs on Instagram, anything like that. I respond to pretty much everything that comes into my inbox, or I try to at least. So yeah, I look forward to chatting with more of you guys in the future. But anyway, back to the project here with the drawer front. We're going to be doing a false drawer front, so we just have the nice simple box and then the drawer front mounted on the front. And this is a trick that I've learned recently, the card trick. This is not anything that is new. I've known about this for years. I just never thought to actually use it, and it is an absolute game changer and now my go-to method. But it's just a nice simple way of kind of aligning that drawer front perfectly centered in the opening. Now, I've also found that I really like building drawers in this way, where you have that drawer box and the drawer front as two separate pieces. I find that it makes the overall construction and alignment and fit up and all that just a little bit easier. You can have that drawer box be a little bit off kilter, but still get that drawer front perfectly aligned. So it just makes the overall job just slightly easier. Then to line the bottom of this, because I don't want that plywood showing, we're going to throw in just a little bit of leather. Now, this is one of those things that I really like doing in the bottoms of certain drawers because I think it's just a nice touch. I really like the look of leather-lined drawer bottoms because it's just another material to have added to this overall fairly simple piece. Then to add a little bit of rustic coloring to that leather, I'm using tried and true Java stain. Now, I've tried using the tried and true stains on wood in the past, haven't loved it, but when it comes to leather, there is absolutely nothing better. I love the way that this comes out when you use these linseed oil stains on that natural leather. Then, as any good furniture maker knows, the tabletop is where you always have to try and get fancy with things. So the simpler a piece is, the more decorative or fancy the tabletop needs to be, at least in my opinion. So what I'm doing here is, this is the basis for this whole project, is I had this chunk of walnut that was left over from kind of that main board that we're working from. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take this piece and split it horizontally so that we end up with the grain flowing from the front to the back of the table. And so I was only able to do it because this piece is about 11.5 inches wide, and this was a really fun time trying to do this on the bandsaw. The blade is getting a little bit dull, and you can see just how much smoke and dust is coming out of this thing. It doesn't help that I forgot to turn the dust collector on too, but yeah, it was a really interesting experience. And the big thing here that's kind of fun to do is because I only have a 6-inch jointer, most of this board actually has to be flattened by hand, which is really not something that's very challenging to do, but I can safely say I would not want to have to spend a day milling boards by hand. I definitely appreciate the machinery that I have in my shop. But to take the time here to just flatten one side, then I can pass it through the planer to get everything nicely flattened off. A little bit better than I can ever do with my hand planes, because again, my skills are not quite there yet. But then I was able to take these two pieces, get that nice perfect book match, and then glue them up into one solid panel that will then form the tabletop. Now, another little experiment with this tabletop here is that I'm not going to be adding anything to it. I'm not going to be doing any kind of breadboard ends, anything like that. And if you guys are familiar with the style of furniture that I typically build, breadboard ends are very much so a staple of my furniture, I would say. But what I wanted to try doing here is just leaving something that is plain and simple so it matches the overall look. And that's something that I definitely have to kind of start to consider more in my furniture too. In some pieces, breadboard ends look really good. In other pieces, it makes the project look a little bit too busy. So it's just a matter of kind of starting to think a little bit more deeply about my overall design style and, you know, how intricate I go with it. Now, speaking of design, the fact that this is a book match panel is also very, very important to me, because it's a very subtle detail that not a lot of people actually notice. One of the things I always find funny anytime I show furniture to people that I've built is that they generally don't notice any of the book matching that I've done, even though it's a very key feature of them, because the book match is just such a subtle design style, and I absolutely love that about it. Now, in order to keep this tabletop flat so it doesn't warp over time, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a lesson from the Epoxy River table makers and using some metal brackets. Now, most of those guys use C-channel on the underside. Instead, I'm just going to be using some aluminum angle bracket here. And the only really important consideration is, just like with breadboard ends or anything else, you do always want to make sure you're going to elongate the holes on your outer edges just so you allow for that excess wood movement. So let me know what you guys think of this slightly more simple project in the comment section down below. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think. But as always, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.